So let us see if we can read the runes then. Dave Keating is an American journalist who's normally based in Brussels. He specialises in American politics and transatlantic relations. Welcome to DW. We heard in that report names like Gingrich and Sessions being touted. Do you get the sense that Donald Trump is going for a hard-right administration, or is he going to bring in more moderate voices as well?
Well, it's hard to say because a lot of names are getting thrown out there right now. And there's the old expression, nobody who knows is talking and nobody who's talking knows. So it may be that some of these more outlandish names that we're hearing, Rudolph Giuliani, Newt Gingrich, even Ben Carson, these are some names that would be very provocative to see in serious cabinet positions. So we'll have to wait and see. It's anybody's guess.
So Republicans now in control of the White House as well as both chambers of Congress. Donald Trump seems determined to completely reshape and certainly cast away what Obama has done. Is he looking to make a permanent change in America?
Yeah, these are long-term changes. He outlined his first 100 days in October in an address in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, for symbolic reasons, obviously, for its Civil War battleground. And what he outlined would make the United States unrecognizable in 2 years. I mean, this is root and branch changes, some of which are constitutional. For instance, he wants to limit congressional terms. He wants to basically completely dismantle the Environmental Protection Agency, so the U.S. would basically be completely hands-off, or maybe leave it to the states to regulate the environment. Obviously, on trade, he wants to pull the U.S. out of NAFTA, which is the free trade agreement with Canada and Mexico. If all of these changes were implemented, it would be hard to recognize the U.S. in a couple of years.
Well, the EU's trade commissioner today said that TTIP, this transatlantic free trade deal between America and the EU, is dead under a Trump presidency. Is she right?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, she was being diplomatic about it. She said it was on pause. But of course, everyone knows TTIP is quite unpopular with the public in Europe. CETA, the free trade agreement with Canada, barely got in under the wire. I think even if Hillary Clinton had been elected, TTIP looked rocky. With President Trump, it's a non-starter. It's never going to happen.
Defence is a big one as well. Donald Trump very critical of NATO.
Yes, I mean, this is the other, I'd say trade, climate, and defense are the three things that European leaders are very worried about. Of course, during the campaign, Trump said that the American defense of NATO countries would not be automatic. He'd have to wait and see if they had paid their dues. That essentially means it's no longer a guaranteed alliance. So European leaders will be looking for him to very quickly walk back those comments and assure NATO members that the U.S. would come to their defense.
You see, there's part of me that wonders if that would necessarily be such a bad thing if European countries started to take more responsibility for their own defence, as has been said over the last couple of days here in Europe.
Yeah, what's interesting is these are conversations that have been had in private for probably 30 years by U.S. administrators. And I would say, you know, on his most frustrated day, Barack Obama would have liked to say exactly what Donald Trump said in July. This has been a source of frustration for the U.S. for a long time. So this could motivate European countries to get more serious about their defense, but it doesn't have to be through NATO. There's a proposal now for more European Union military coordination, because obviously what Trump has said about NATO has shattered a lot of Europeans' confidence in the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, and so they may think perhaps the European Union should have the capability to defend itself outside of American influence.
Now, we've been speculating a lot, and we can only speculate at this stage about what might happen. But amongst that apocalyptic scenario that you've outlined there on trade and the environment and defence, this doesn't. It's not going to be acting in a vacuum, especially on issues like trade and the environment. There must be pushback from the rest of the world, surely.
There certainly will be. The big question is whether or not he cares. Now, I think certainly there are people in the Congress who will care, particularly on the NATO issue. I mean, in any event, he's going to have people in his cabinet who will oppose what he said about NATO. You know, if Newt Gingrich, for example, is a pretty hawkish Republican. He is not going to like the idea of the U.S. pulling back from its military commitments. That's going to be an inevitable conflict. I think trade and U.S. military adventures abroad are the two things that could tear the Republicans apart over the next 4 years.
We've talked about international issues there, but Donald Trump's platform was very much about the domestic, was very much about this whole idea of putting America first. What is he going to do to try and fulfill those promises?
There were a lot of promises. And a lot of them he said in his address in Gettysburg that he would do from day one. Some of them are objectively not feasible. So the wall, for instance, it's very difficult to see how that goes ahead, especially...
Big, beautiful, powerful wall.
That's like the greatest wall ever seen, greater than the Great Wall of China. The big question now is, was this all bluster? Was this just campaign talk? And if it was, will his supporters mind? It may be that there's a quote going around this week that the media took Donald Trump literally but not seriously. His supporters took him seriously but not literally. It may be that they don't want him to literally deliver on the promises that he made. And so that there wouldn't be a backlash, there wouldn't be falling poll numbers if he didn't implement it. But that's really hard to say now. Nobody knows.
OK, we can just speculate and wait. Dave Keating, thank you so much.